Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ahmed Usaid Muhammad Yusuf Ali. I am recording on behalf of our group to present the slides on our probability and statistics group project. As you can see, our project title is COVID-19's impact on children. The following names on the slides are the group members: Salim Sadman, Muhammad Sadad Hussain, me Ahmed Usaid, Muhammad Sifat Said, and Sarazum Marjan. After discussing with the other group members, we decided that these questions would be our problem statement. The questions are: does COVID-19 affect children and their welfare? What effect does COVID-19 have on children? And how are children getting affected by COVID-19? Upon deciding on a problem statement, we had to come up with a hypothesis, basically a prediction of our problem statement's answers. We hypothesized that yes, COVID-19 does affect children, maybe even more so than adults. After that, we had to come up with questions that we would be asking the respondents to get relevant data to begin our analysis. These questions were then distributed using Google Forms. You can see these questions on the following slide. Before we go any further, I would like to mention that since we have many graphs and charts produced from our data, we were unable to put them all in this presentation. The same goes with analysis for each of the graph. We have included only one category, as if we were to include all of them, this presentation would be too long. But all of our graphs, charts, and analysis results can be found in full in our project's final report. We followed our project guidelines and we used the methodology of measurements of central tendencies and Chebyshev's theorem. From measurement of central tendencies, we found the mean, the median, the mode, and the modal class, the range, variance, and the standard deviation. Using the Chebyshev theorem, we also found the percentage of where a sample would be from the respondents. The first graph that we're going to look at is: does COVID-19 affect the children's education? Now, we have split the answers from the respondents into three groups. One is in general, one is in parent, and one is non-parent. And these are shown in the graph, and these are split according to the age groups that we have talked about earlier. And here we see a pie chart representation of the same question that we asked earlier. And over here we can see that 67% of parents agree that yes, their children's education are affected due to COVID, while 33% disagree and say that their children's education are not affected due to COVID. As mentioned earlier, we split the groups of the respondents into three groups: general, parents, and non-parents. So in this slide, we'll be focusing on the parents. To find the mean, we took the mid-range of the age groups of the children and then multiplied it by the respondents from the parents, and then divided overall by the total number of respondents, which we got 9.5. The mid-range we can find is through adding up the values and then dividing it by 2 to get 9.5. We can also find the variance using this formula, and we found that the variance was 4. From 4 we can find the standard deviation, since standard deviation is just the square root of variance, so we got 2. From all of this we can conclude that the normal distribution graph would be skewed to the left. Moving on to the next graph, which asks the question of: does COVID-19 impact the children's nutrition? And as you can see here in the graph, we have our results, but instead of categorizing them into parents and non-parents, we have categorized them into 4 categories: strongly agree, and strongly disagree, and disagree. As you can see, according to this pie chart, you can see that only 33% of the parents agree that this COVID-19 is impacting children's nutrition, while 67% of the parents disagree, that no, they do not, COVID-19 do not affect their children's nutrition. Here is the analysis of the strongly disagree category from the previous question. So we found, using the same methods as the previous analysis, that the mean is 10.39, the mid-range is 8.5, the variance is 4.1, and then the standard deviation is 2.025. And then we came to the same conclusion as the previous one, that the normal distribution graph would be skewed to the left. Coming to the fourth graph, we are asking the question if COVID-19 affects children's physical health. Similar to the previous one, we categorized the respondents into 5 different categories, which are strongly agree, agree, unbiased, strongly disagree, and disagree. And from this pie chart, we can see that 33% of the parents agree that yes, their children's physical health are being affected by COVID-19, while 67% of the parents disagree with this statement. Here is the unbiased category analysis from the previous graph. As we can see, the mean is 9.5, the mid-range is 9.5, the variance is 7.29, and the standard deviation is 2.7. Coming to the final graph in this presentation, it is looking at the behavioral and mental changes in children due to COVID-19. Similar to the previous graphs, we have split this into 5 groups, and these are agree, mildly agree, unbiased, mildly disagree, and disagree. And as you can see, every single one of our respondents agree that yes, their children has had a behavior or mental change due to COVID-19. And the analysis of this category will be strongly agree. So finding the mean was 11.5, the range was also 11.5. The variance is undefined because there was only one respondent in the strongly agree category, and therefore the standard deviation is also undefined. So to wrap up, I would like to go over from the top of our entire process, from deciding on a problem statement to writing a conclusion in our project. At first, we needed to come up with an idea for our problem statement. After discussing it with each other, we decided that our topic would be, if does COVID-19 affect children? After that, we had to come up with a hypothesis of our problem. Achieving this, we moved on to creating a template of questions for us to send to others to get data for our problem statement. The next part was to wait and receive the results from the respondents. Upon receiving enough results, we began on our report. We followed the requirements of our project and began analysis of our data. As shown in the methodology, we used measurements and tendencies to find the mean, median, mode, variance, and standard deviation, and a few more. We also used Chebyshev's theorem on our data to find where a percentage of a sample would fall in. After conducting the H-test and the random test, we found that our proposed hypothesis had to be rejected, as higher agreement level had low children's age range, while parent subjects had children of higher age range. This is different than our original hypothesis, but we can safely conclude that even though not everyone agreed on most of the questions, COVID-19 does affect children, at least in one way or another. We think that if we had a larger sample size, we could have gotten more reliable and accurate data. Also, a more diverse sample of respondents would have helped us a lot more in the data relevancy. So we feel like that's how we could have improved on our data results and the analysis. And that is a wrap on our project's presentation. I hope it was a satisfactory presentation, and thank you for listening in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.